That is amazing. He's like, yeah, I'm shaking, thinking, who do I get in contact with? And I think to myself, got to give this to the FBI. But then I'm like, no, the FBI. Shawn Ryan is the guy.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin McMahill. I'm the sheriff for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Over the last couple of days, since the bombing and death of the individual inside of the Tesla at Trump Towers, had a number of priorities that we've been trying to accomplish over those days. The first one of those priorities was to confirm that there's no further threat. I think we've completed that. The second was to positively identify the suspect. We've also done that today. I can confirm that that is Matthew Livelsberger. We also wanted to confirm that there were no other actors involved in this incident. I believe we've done that, and you'll hear much more about that as we move forward today. We've also today, I'm going to be able to share with you some of what we believe to be his plans and motives as to why he conducted this attack. Now, before we go on, I want to just address a couple of things before we get too far along here. I want you to know that we're very well aware of a podcast that is going around today and the contents of the letter in that podcast. And I just want you to understand that since we've been conducting these press conferences, I have only given you information that we have verified and deemed to be factually accurate. We've been aware of that document for a while now.
I don't know what podcast they're talking about, but I suspect that that's where the manifesto conversation started, maybe. Wait, he was on Shawn Ryan's pod? Wait, what? This guy was on Shawn Ryan's? Breaking, Shawn Ryan just dropped the emergency Matt Livelsberger episode, allegedly posting an email manifesto from the Green Beret behind the Tesla truck. In an email dated December 31st, this makes sense. Shawn Ryan is like Shawn Ryan is the #1 podcast for guys like this. He's the guy whose podcast had Pete Hegseth on as well. The real email manifesto sent. I urge everyone to dedicate at least 35 minutes to fully grasp the details that have unfolded over the past few days. This episode takes a deep dive into the manifesto, an email sent to Samosar by Matt Livelsberger himself. Within this chilling document, Livelsberger boldly declares, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. Former Green Beret. Well, he wasn't a former Green Beret. I'm pretty sure the manifesto is fake news. The source of it is a couple months old. Is at the center of the story just days before he drove a Tesla Cybertruck loaded with explosives to Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. The Cybertruck incident has raised serious questions about Livelsberger's motivations, his credibility, and the information he shared. In this episode, we unpack the manifesto's contents. That's twice now true crime terrorists and mill murderers to appear on Rogan and Shawn Ryan. This is the one they went over in the press conference. Fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We're being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. We are the United States of America, the best country people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. Las Vegas bomber reached out to his girlfriend ex-girlfriend a few days before the attack. I rented a Tesla Cybertruck. It's the I feel like Batman or Halo. Oh, okay. It's been a while. So much learning and fun. I rented a Tesla Cybertruck. It's the I'm building drones in my new position. You would love it. I feel like Batman or Halo. I don't know if this is cool or I should bully you about it. How fast is it? Ungodly. I feel like Batman or Halo is such a funny take. CNN has an email. Livelsberger said in an email the day before the explosion that he was armed and in possession of a massive VBIED and expressed conspiratorial concerns that government agencies were tracking him. A copy of the email viewed by CNN said, okay, I trust this. New details on the Cybertruck explosion. Master Sergeant Livelsberger was diagnosed with depression last year, but had not been assessed to be a risk of violence or two U.S. officials familiar with his record tell me and Natasha Bertrand. This is from CNN. Law enforcement has received the message and examined where the email originated and believe it was written by Livelsberger, a law enforcement official familiar with the investigation, told CNN. He tried to flex and she wanted to bully him. She caused it. Okay, yeah, it's a sarcasm. It's been posted on Reddit. Do claim the drones are Chinese craft based on alien technology. Okay, dude, I don't think... He also drove to the wrong Las Vegas at first. The guy who blew up his Cybertruck accidentally went to the wrong Las Vegas at first. Wait, what? I don't believe this account is a meme account. That account is a meme account. I don't think he went to Las Vegas, New Mexico on accident. It's most likely that there are charging stations on the path. It is 100% reverse engineered alien tech. Aliens are not primitive enough to use propellers. It is not aliens. What? Yeah, I suspect that in the mountaintop, they don't have as many Tesla supercharger stations. So he was forced to drive around the mountains rather than over it, but I don't know. Anyway, we'll look at the, I'll look at the email, but I'm not entirely certain as to the veracity of this email. I don't know if it's legit or not.
Damn.
New York Times just reported on the manifesto. Okay, if the New York Times reported on it, we'll move on the manifesto. New York Times wrote an article on at least one of the manifestos is circulating around that the cops have also revealed. I feel like there are two separate manifestos out there, potentially. One is this, in case I do not, that has been delivered to Shawn Ryan's podcast tactically, or at least this one guy who Shawn Ryan had on his podcast. In case I do not make it my decision point or on the Mexico border, I'm sending this now. It seems like this probably is. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones and operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the U.S. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPSEND location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity is recently picked up. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. The problem here is I believe he was working on drone tech in Germany. I don't think a service member buying a Mustang is verification. That's like 99% of Marines. True. The so and what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned air AC. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that's ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity. They have an unlimited payload capacity? No, they don't. What are you saying? This guy is out of his mind. If this is real, if this is a real email that he sent, okay, I'm sorry. The notion that these drones have unlimited payload capacity is laughable. Unless he's also going to somehow say this is alien technology. All right, let's hear what he had to, let's hear what this podcast looks like from Shawn Ryan now.
Sam Shoemate, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm nervous about this one.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really nervous about this one. So yesterday I come into work and our stuff's been exploding because of the Sarah Adams, had Sarah Adams, Scott Mann, legend, did an interview with Masood kind of warning everybody about it's going to be a lot of terrorism here in 2025. Didn't take long. Jan 1, it hit. And, you know, it's interesting. We couldn't get any mainstream media's outlets to pay attention to those interviews. And nobody would really give Sarah a voice. Now everybody wants to.
Dude, we're going to get so crazy in 2025. That's one prediction. Okay, lock it down. If you think 2024 was riddled with silly conspiracies, you have seen nothing yet. 2025 is going to be so crazy. It's going to make 2024 look normal. Like everything in 2024 that people thought were happening, that we thought was insane, is going to seem tame.
To give Sarah a voice because, oh, guess what? The CIA targeter was actually right. Mainstream media gave her no attention. So that's been going crazy. I come in yesterday and for an interview, the first thing I do is talk to my producer, Jeremy, and he says that he's been in contact with you and that you had received some type of manifesto or email from the Green Beret that set off the car bomb at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
Right.
Jump in an interview and come out. My phone is blown up. Apparently CID, Army CID, which is, how would you describe it? It's like it's
FBI light.
Yeah.
They are federal agents, but yeah,
the Army's FBI.
Yeah.
I get all these messages from these people that say CID is talking to this person and that person, and one of these guys on the list is still operational, and they want his name redacted, and every Green Beret I know is texting me about this. It's really freaked me out, man. It was like, well, how did this leak? Who's tracking my phone? All that kind of stuff. So I just want to say thank you for being here because I was eavesdropping in on that conversation you had with Jeremy, and this is a big story, man. This is big.
Yeah, it is.
Real big. And so thank you for being here.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
But I do, before we get too heavy, I got some gifts for you.
Oh,
There you go.
Excellent.
So we're talking.
thank God. I was worried that they wouldn't maintain operational procedure here. Thank God they still have gifts for one another. Thank
about
God.
people
Okay.
monitoring the phone. Have you heard the unplugged phone?
Yeah.
And for anybody that wants to purchase this phone, you can get it at unplugged.com/Shawn Ryan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, it was an ad.
So that the unplugged phone keeps big tech.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He's just doing an ad for, this is like, okay, right off the jump, couple red flags. This strikes me as the Alex Jones style procedure where I feel like this is the Alex Jones method, you know, talk about how the water is turning the freaking frogs gay and then immediately sell a straw in the commercial break. I feel as though this is basically exactly that. He's doing that with more credibility than Alex Jones, though.
For monitoring your texts and your calls. There's a secure messaging app in there. There's a secure email. So get that thing wired up, and
Absolutely.
let's talk on that from now on. So,
Okay.
And then everybody gets a bag of these.
Been waiting for this.
Nice.
This is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Very cool.
But all right, let's dive into it. This is going to be kind of tough. I didn't have, like I said, I was interviewing yesterday, so we're kind of winging it here.
Yeah.
But so before we jump in, I just want to say a couple things about today, and we're not necessarily validating what came in on that email. There's some pretty alarming stuff that came out in the email about the drones that we're seeing on the East Coast and some capabilities that China has, some capabilities that we have, some activity that went on in Afghanistan in 2019, which actually we do have news reports that is valid. A lot of this stuff actually really lines up, but we can't give it 100% credibility.
Right.
I think you would agree with that as an intelligence analyst.
100%.
And then additionally, there are a few names, two, I believe, that we are redacting from this because they are still operational. And as much as I would love to release those names, we're not gonna do it so that those guys can remain undercover and not burn their entire operation of what they're into right now. And there was one more.
The audience of this podcast is Tom Clancy novel readers, okay?
More thing. I want to give a little background on you. Retired from the Army in 2023 as a CW2 intelligence officer and understand the information war. In 2020, you were still on active duty. You started a social media account where you intended to share memes and GIFs. Despite your intentions, the account grew into what it is today. You've developed, what is the account's name?
It's an Instagram account. Goes by Terminal CWO.
Terminal CWO. You've developed a robust network of service members across the Department of Defense who trust you with their reports of unethical and, in some cases, illegal behavior from their leaders. You expose the unethical and illegal behavior while protecting whistleblowers in order to hold military leaders accountable, which is why you received the email from the Green Beret. And because of your background, you come across wild information all the time. You're here today because of an email you received from Matthew Livelsberger a couple of days before the Cybertruck bombing at Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. You'll also be able to discuss what you know about the terrorists who conducted the New Orleans attack. Did I miss anything?
No, that sums it up. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll give a background on why that's significant so your viewers understand how this came into my inbox.
Perfect. One other thing that I just wanted to say to the audience is, even though we are redacting these names from the episode, you passed that, I believe you passed that email on to the FBI.
Yes.
We're also going to pass it on to our contacts at the FBI. It's very obvious that people know it. Like I said, the CID has been telling everybody. In fact, we talked to Jeremy, who's sitting over there, my producer, me, him, and my attorney, Tim Parlatore. We're up till about 10:30 last night talking to the
10:30 is not even that late. What? Is he one of those like early risers? Is that what it is? Is this Sigma grind set? He's like, I've tactically decided to stay way past my nap time. That's right. We decided that it was important and pertinent for the public to have access tactically to this knowledge that we have ascertained as verifiable evidence of a mass plot happening. I'm never going to stop tactical. I'm never going to stop cop speak. I love it too much, and I need to get better at it because I feel like if I do Tactical speak. Maybe I can get out of a ticket or something.
Chief of Staff?
The Army Chief of Staff PA.
The Army Chief of Staff's POA took a major interest in this as well. And, you know, one of the things that he said, I'll wait till later to bring that up, but I don't know. I don't trust any of these people. I mean, public affairs officers are there to,
I'll keep my mouth.
yeah,
closed on this
create,
one. Yeah.
create,
PAO is there to protect the command.
yeah,
100%, nothing else.
yeah.
They're not there to shed transparency on anything. They're there to protect the command.
Let's recreate what the story is. But, and you know what's interesting? I'm just going to say it. You know what he said? He goes, on the call, he said, I didn't talk to him. I didn't want to talk to him. So I had them talk to him. He said, between me and you guys, this guy's DNA didn't match his son. And made it sound like it's some big secret. Then at 9:34 p.m., I think it was 9:34 p.m., the New York Post had a headline that said that this guy's, so they're trying to make it sound like this guy did this because maybe he found out the son wasn't his. But there's a lot more to the story, as we'll find out. So,
Yeah.
So let's go to you, Sam. Tell me how you got the email.
All right. So for context, I've run this account for the last 4.5 years. There have been people in and out writing articles and different stuff and just investigations, some big, some small, just trying to keep accountability in the military, but developed a robust network within the military, all branches, and people feed into this and send me messages and here and there. Nothing ever like this has ever come in. But well, it started off as comments. So when you have a big Instagram account, you're going to miss a lot of messages because people message, go to hidden messages and everything else. You miss a lot of stuff. Well, I kept seeing this comment on recent posts that I put in there, and it was from this burner account that said, hey, check your DMs, check your DMs, check your DMs. So I go in there and try to find it. There's no message from this guy, hadn't come through or whatever. And then he messages again once that message was opened up.
Are you telling me an operator who spent most of his time overseas had a wife who had sex with another man? Oh my God. What a random and unique tale. What? That's crazy. Surely this is the first time such a thing has taken place.
And I said, hey, your previous messages haven't come through. What do you want to tell me? And he said, what I'm going to send you, now these are literally his words, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. That was his phrase, change the course of humanity. Okay. A little bit dramatic. I get these messages all the time. People have this big story they want to tell. They want to expose their command, whatever. I take everything with a grain of salt until I have evidence and proof. So this guy is insistent. He tells me that he is a 18 Zulu who I've spoken to before, and he really needs to get this stuff to me. And then he talks about you. He says, I need you to get me in contact with Shawn Ryan. I'm like, dude, I don't know Shawn Ryan. I'm not that big. But he's insistent that I get him diverted to media sources, says go to Fox News, whatever else. And I said, all right, tell me what you got. So I give him my Proton email account, give him my signal number. And he reaches out immediately. And I'm going to read this initial message for you because this doesn't have names or anything else on it. But this was his message on Sunday. He reached out and said, like I said, this last Sunday, he said, sending with a VPN active on Wi-Fi only. Do not message me. I will send out updates via both signal and email. But trust me, you're going to want to be involved. Well, first of all, no, I didn't want to be involved. Anyways, and then, so I didn't message. I responded back to his original Instagram message. And I said, hey, I got your message on Proton Mail. And he said, cool, delete this. So I deleted it. That's how I ended up getting this message on Tuesday. So the message that this right here, this manifesto, if you want to call it that, came in on Tuesday. And when I started reading this, my initial take was, okay, this is off the deep end. It's bonkers. I can't validate or verify any of the stuff in this manifesto. Mm-hmm. And I told him that in a subsequent email. And I'll read that to you later, my response to him. And once again, my response to him elicited, hey, get me in contact with Shawn Ryan, Fox News, and he even said Pete Hegseth. Get me in contact with Hegseth. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the incoming Secretary of Defense's phone number. Sorry, bro. That's the last time I talked to him.
Sean's like, I do.
So yesterday morning.
What date was that?
That was Tuesday. That was this Tuesday. So we're Friday now. That was 3 days ago.
So
the day before.
30th?
Yeah, the day before the attack. I dismissed this stuff out of hand.
The 31st. It was on the 31st.
Yes. In fact, I posted something on my, I told your producer about this as well, but this was a post I made on Twitter. I was just trying to be humorous, off the cuff. It didn't mean anything about it. I was just being humorous for my audience. I said, my inbox was especially eventful today. Allegations of war crimes, government anti-gravity technology, and fears about being tracked and watched by the feds. It's always, the world is ending and I have this information that needs to get to the media, and never, how you doing, bro?
I like that on its face, he made fun of this guy understandably so, because it sounds like the ramblings of a madman. But post-mortem, now that it's a big story and it lands him on the Shawn Ryan podcast, he's going to sit there and act like everything he said was totally verifiable. That's crazy. Like, when he first got the message, he was like, okay, dude, chill. For understandable reasons. Like, that is the normal first reaction to a guy who's like, only us in China have access to like alien style anti-gravity technology. And it's the Chinese that are launching drones on the East Coast. And once the guy turns around and says, no, I am that dude, I am that crazy, and he blows himself up, only after he's like, oh, never mind, I think this is real.
Brother, everything all right? I was just playing off of a meme. It was just supposed to be a joke. That was the body of his email that he sent me. And I didn't think anything about it. I didn't know who Matt Berg was, Matt Livelsberg, or anything else. He told me who he was in the email. He pointed me to his LinkedIn account. I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was just kind of being humorous with my audience. Like, I get these crazy messages sometime. And then the day after that message, I wake up and my buddy was like, hey, Sam, nobody in the community seems to know this guy. Do you happen to know who he is? And I played that for you before we came up here. Just absolute shock. That's how I woke up yesterday.
Do you want to play it now?
Yeah. Excuse my language. I was definitely in shock. Let me find this chat. So,
You know, while you're digging through that, you know what we should do? I should get that Instagram account from you to see if they messaged any of our Instagram accounts. And we should also get that
I
email
don't have it. I
address.
deleted it.
You deleted it.
He told me to delete it and I deleted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should also get that email address and see if they sent it into the sent it in through the website and see if he tried to contact us. Get that to the FBI.
So I'm in a
Hopefully
military.
they actually do something.
Yeah, I'm in a military group chat. Buddy Green Beret, Corey, he says, at Sam. No, nobody I've asked in the community knows him. You is at 8:46 a.m. yesterday. So I woke up and I said, OF, I'm shaking. This guy emailed me 2 days ago. I'm not playing. And then he said, damn. And then this was my response to him at 8:48. Like, just woke up.
I'm shaking, bro.
Wait, was that Mike Malak with the Cybertruck attacker note release? Dog, we are literally watching what people are alleging is the note. This is the manifesto. The note is something else. Wait, there's a note I saw on TikTok. Oh my God.
You don't understand. This guy emailed me and told me he was being watched by the FBI and Homeland Security, but they weren't going to do anything to him because he had a VBID. I'm not playing, dude. I have the email. I'm shaking, man. This is nuts.
And it goes from there. And I sat there for probably an hour talking to my wife. I'm shaking. I can't even think straight. Like, normal day shot. And I didn't know what I want to do. Do I sit on this? Do I do nothing with it? I've got to tell somebody. I've got to tell the FBI at least, because this is huge. This is all over the news. And then I was like, well, dude, this guy wanted to get in contact with Shawn Ryan. So let me get this to Shawn Ryan, see if I can get with him. And
That is amazing. He's like, yeah, I'm shaking, thinking, who do I get in contact with? And I think to myself, got to give this to the FBI. But then I'm like, no, the FBI. Shawn Ryan is the guy. Under no circumstance do we think that the guy who exploded his Cybertruck could potentially be mentally not all there. That's what I love about the story in general, is that not a single person is going, hey, hold up, maybe the 15-year touring special forces operator who had a litany of complications at home could potentially be, I don't know, mind broken. No, we only thought that before he blew himself up. Now that he blew himself up, it seems that he had actually arrived at anti-gravity technology.
I had a buddy who knew your producer, and we went from there. But
Wow. Do you want to read the email?
Yep. So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the US. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPSEN, that's Operation Center, our OPSEN location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used a balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comms system. There are dozens of those balloons
Chinese weather balloon veers off course due to limited capabilities of navigation. And this guy is literally saying that the balloon was actually a show of force by China. Tactical Talk is making this so epic. Yeah. Tactical Talk always makes things more epic and cool.
In the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive VBID. Let me pause right there for a second. So he says a massive VBID. When I was talking to the FBI yesterday, they didn't know what a VBID was. I had to explain what that acronym meant, literally.
You fucking serious?
Dead serious. I said it twice and he goes, you said that word.
Are you serious? They didn't know what a vehicular borne improvised explosive device means? These goddamn lawyers, I hate the FBI. They're not the doorbusters like we are. Yee. Goddamn suits. It must be the DEI in the FBI that caused them to not know what a VBED is. God damn it. I'm pissed off. These freaking suits, man. They're all lawyers, the lot of them. They don't know how to do real work, real operator work. Unlike my boy, Matthew Lifelessberger.
VBID. Can you tell me what that is? For your audience, a VBID, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a VBID is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. In layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So, backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive VBID. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Here's where he gets into the other stuff, and this is where we had to redact the names. Well, your producer redacted the names. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with redacted IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Littlesberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion 10th Special Forces Group. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access.
What is USAP? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. But I checked his credentials on LinkedIn. So that was the first thing I did. I went to his LinkedIn page. First thing I noticed was all of his bona fides were in place. He has all the UAS training from USASOC and everything else. And so I said, okay, at least the guy knows what he's talking about with drones. That was a very rough dig into the guy. But my issue was I couldn't validate or verify any of this information. And I told him that. And how I responded to him was in a subsequent email. I said, this is obviously a very big deal, but I don't have anything to verify this information with. Talking about gravitic propulsion systems without evidence just makes me another UFO talking head. Like, I'm not going to go on my social media page and start talking about UFOs and anti-gravity systems and everything. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't. And he said, can I get on Fox News Contact on Signal as well as Shawn's show? Hegseth would be good too. That was his last message to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, what is a gravitic propulsion system?
To be honest with you, it is a fancy term you're going to find in science fiction. You won't find it in any, as far as I know, you won't find this in any kind of official manual or, scientific research. This is all science fiction. So, but what struck me is his use, what strikes me now, not then, but what strikes me now is his use of a very specific term that nobody else call it. If you asked me, I would say an anti-gravity propulsion system. That's how I would describe it because I don't know this stuff. He said gravitic propulsion system.
We looked that up last night too, and all we could find was same thing, science fiction type stuff. But, there are some things that line up. One is, like I'd mentioned, well, let's talk about the guy's story. Obviously, he had a VBID. Obviously, he was in the military and served. And the thing that he was talking about in 2019, we pulled a report. This is from October 9th, 2019. UN report find alleged drug facilities were not lawful target airstrikes caused and caused significant civilian casualties. The United Nations Special Report, which examines the impact on civilians of the United States airstrikes on alleged drug processing facilities on 5 May 2019 in Afghanistan, determines the operation caused a large number of civilian casualties. The report also examines the legal framework applicable to this incident. In June 2019, the UN Assistance Mission in Afghanistan, together with representatives of the Afghanistan Independent Human Rights Commission, conducted a site visit to areas impacted by the strikes in Farah Province, Bakwa District, as part of its extensive fact-finding into the 5 May incident. The UN verified 39 civilian casualties, among them 14 children, 1 woman, from multiple airstrikes on more than 60 sites that the United States Afghanistan identified as drug production facilities in Bakwa District and in parts of neighboring Delaram District of Nimraz Province.
They were eliminating the competition, dude. They were like, only we get to produce drugs in Afghanistan, you sons of... What do you think you're doing?
Moreover, the UN is working to verify credible reports of at least 37.
Yeah. Also, the DA wasn't actually wasn't Afghanistan. I know. I'm not joking when I say only we, JSOC. When I say we, I mean JSOC. Only we get to produce opium in Afghanistan, not you. Suspiciously, none of it makes its way to the United States of America. We have our own version of the fentanyl crisis, obviously, which is really damaging. And weirdly enough, none of the opiates grown in Afghanistan before the Taliban takeover, okay, because from what I understand, they stopped the production and it went down dramatically, but none of that made its way into the United States of America and only made its way into Europe. All that came into the European marketplace, was actually Afghan-produced opium. So, having said that, could the part of him talking about covering up war crimes in Afghanistan be real? Yeah, no. I do think that it's probably real. Because that part is like adding on additional seasoning to a completely improvised, insane conspiracy theory, and then ending it with, and I drove a car. That is so commonplace and so normal that it is the same as him saying, to verify, I also have, my first car was a Mustang V6 in 2006. It's like, yeah, I get that. It's the sandwich technique. Place 2 different correct things and then, slam the middle of the sandwich with insane nonsense.
7 additional civilian casualties, the majority of whom were women and children. Although airstrikes on the alleged drug processing facilities had taken place before, this was the first time that UNAMA had received reports of large number of civilian casualties resulting from such an operation. And it goes on. I'm not going to read all this. We'll link the article here. But so that 100% lines up. The other thing, that really struck me is, like I had mentioned, after our phone call, jumped in an interview after the interview.
If we find out that GravTech is there and that's what the orbs are, you're so cooked, bro. I mean, dude, I'll gladly say I'm wrong. So you believe this part, but not his work on drones and what he's seen? No, I'm the one who brought up that he was supposedly working on drones in Germany. I don't know why a special forces guy would be working on drones. It's not like he has an engineering background. He's just a doorbuster, but...
Check my phone, and I had several Green Berets, former Green Berets, one still active. Actually, I'm just going to say it was Tim Kennedy.
This guy, wait, he just keeps revealing. He's like, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say it. Tim Kennedy.
Sent me a message late last night about 9 p.m. and said, hey, I should have brought my phone up here, but hey, basically that the use of...
Didn't Tim Kennedy just recently get outed for just like also being a fabulist? It's so funny because like virtually all these guys that write books about like their exploits almost always come out to be lying. They're serial exaggerators. Mick Huya is another great example. Shawn O'Neal, who weirdly follows me. I don't know why.
SOC wants to give me more context on what had happened on this guy. And so first I wasn't going to take the call because I don't trust the government anymore. I don't think anybody does. But I was on the phone with my producer, who was a naval surface warfare officer, and my attorney, Tim Parlatore. They said we should talk to him. So I called Tim, was really pissed off, reamed his ass about it, and then later apologized. But, you know, I think you had mentioned that you had received a message from somebody that says nobody's heard of this guy. Tim sent me a picture of him shooting with this guy. And I don't know if I should release that photo or not, but Tim.
He's like, but I don't give a
Tim basically told me this. So I got the POA's number, the public affairs officer, sent it to Jeremy and Tim. He talked to them. And what they wanted us to know was that this guy was an upstanding soldier, an excellent operator, was moving on, was moving towards retirement and moving on to basically enhance the future of warfare. They wanted us to know that. Then the PA officer, sounds like almost jokingly said, which I don't know why you would joke about this, said that, oh, and between us, which why would a POA officer say between us? I mean, if they didn't want us to know that information, then they just wouldn't have told us that. But they wanted us to know, obviously, that the DNA with his supposed child was not a match. And so I think what they were trying to do is basically make this out to be, oh, this is why this happened. He got bad news that that's not his child.
What's really interesting and funny about podcasts like Shawn Ryan's and all these like ex-CIA guys, they're popping lately. They're all over the place, is that I just don't trust them at all. I feel like if there's a guy who's still a Fed, it's these guys. This way they get to capture the attention of a lot of the conspiratorial minded people. Okay. And then just like steer them in whichever direction the federal government thinks is an appropriate vector for conspiratorial mindset. And not like dangerous things that are actually dangerous for the federal government. Like there's no way you can convince me that a guy who's like worked with the CIA is like a contractor is just now a former Fed who hates the government. I just don't believe it. I don't trust anything that these guys say, which is funny because all of those like cynical conspiracy brained guys who traffic in a number of different rabid conspiracies will literally just only listen to these dudes and think these guys are the bravest truth tellers out there. And it's like, dude, if you're a conspiracy guy and you're skeptical of the government, why would you ever consider a Fed to be a truthful person? I will never understand that. I don't understand it. I will never understand it. I think it's very strange.
And so that's why he did it. But with all the other context.
Don't you think this show so far is just LARP? I think it's half LARP and no, it's there's a lot of LARP for sure.
Especially with the 2019 incident, which was obviously a cover-up. I think that has a major role in this. The other thing is,
because we already have a track record of what happens when you are a real whistleblower. Okay, you don't have to look any further. One of them has been on my broadcast, Chelsea Manning, and the other is not allowed on U.S. soil, Edward Snowden. Okay, when you're an actual whistleblower, you face tremendous repercussions. You don't get to go on a freaking podcast. You get killed by Boeing or you get killed by ChatGPT, allegedly. You know? You either die mysteriously and the coroner rules your death as suicide by gunshot, 8 shots to the back of your head. That's the way. That's your method of execution. I mean, not execution. Your method of suicide. Or you have to live your life in exile in Russia. Or you have to live in a consulate building in a non-extradition country for the rest of your life as they openly fantasize about executing you and only let you live basically, many, many years after they've ruined your life. Julian Assange. I don't know. I feel like if you're like a real whistleblower, opening the book on these government conspiracies, shining a light on these government conspiracies, you're not going to have one of the most popular podcasts out there. The only person I will say that, I trust, despite their background of being around federal, being around the CIA and being trained by the American military, is Brace Belden, as he did, go to Rojava. So, of course, in that time frame, I'm sure that there were members of the CIA and the, American government that trained him, but I still trust them. No, I'm saying, you're saying in Chelsea, but no, Chelsea served her time. That's different. I'm saying Brace didn't get into any problems. Well, I guess Brace wasn't really a whistleblower either. He's not a whistleblower at all.
I started receiving a lot of messages from one of the redacted names, who's a DEA agent, the one that he's talking about in the email to you. We got it from multiple sources, one of which was actually a videographer for me, I think 4 years ago. He worked for me a very short period of time. I had to let him go. He joined the Army, went to OCS, became an Army officer, sent me a text, super freaked out. Apparently he was on some rafting trip with somebody that knows the DEA officer and said, hey, this guy's still operational. He wants his name redacted.
Wow.
Not the only one. Then I received a message from another very close friend of mine who's been on the show several times saying that he got word that this guy was still operational. And so that's why we decided to redact his name. I was getting upset because I didn't receive any communication up to that point. Well, then I checked my LinkedIn. I said, let me see if this guy actually messaged me. Sure as shit, that DEA agent did message me, said that he wanted to talk to me before tomorrow's interview. It was really important.
Wow.
We tried to contact him, not from my phone. I'm not calling any of these people, but from somebody else's phone. He didn't pick up, and we weren't going to send any text thread to show any communication between us any more than the LinkedIn message. And I didn't hit him on LinkedIn. So that also 100% checks out. Now, the weird thing is anonymous as this guy wants to remain, if I remember correctly, he posted something about the Green Beret that set the bomb off.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that was his latest post. Well, Jeremy, what was it? What did the post?
And it was just a report of the story.
It was just a report of the story. So very interesting how all this stuff is lining up. What do you think?
I told the guys downstairs, you know, I jokingly said this to my wife the day that I got that email, because I read the email to her. You all have heard the email now. You realize without context of who this person is, how just crazy it sounds. And I told her, I said, well, I mean, I guess if the dude ends up getting rolled up by the feds or he gets killed, we got a story, huh? Man, famous last words, right?
That's your speculate, dude. Like, no, one, it still sounds just as crazy, and two, you're betraying the severity and the veracity of the email, the contents of the email, by saying you only care about the story element of it. Because if you truly thought what he was saying is true, you're like, dude, the government has anti-gravity technology that they're hiding, and double dude, China also has it, and they're deploying drones on U.S. soil. Clearly, even you don't believe, even now, what the contents of that email was. This is what I don't understand. I'm going to go back into it, but I want to start off by looking at the email real quick. This is the way that Shawn Ryan talked about his podcast that came out. I urge everyone to dedicate at least 45 minutes to fully grasp the details that have unfolded over the past few days. This episode takes a deep dive into the manifesto, an email sent to Samosor by Matt Livesberger himself. Within this chilling document, Livesberger boldly declares, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. Matthew Livesberger, former Green Beret, is at the center of the story. Just days before he drove a Tesla Cybertruck loaded with explosives to the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, this Cybertruck incident has raised serious questions about Livesberger's motivations, his credibility, and the information he shared. In this episode, we unpack the manifesto's contents, which include allegations of advanced drone technology, U.S. war crimes in Afghanistan, and the use of gravity propulsion systems by China, anti-grav machines, drones in New Jersey, the Chinese weather balloon that drifted off course and made Americans panic for approximately a week. All of that and more was featured in Matthew Livesberger's email that he had sent to this other guy, Mr. Shoe, Sam Shoemate. Sam Shoemate initially looked at Matthew Livesberger's email, which I will read you right now, and kind of joked about it because it sounds, frankly, a little insane. But for Sam, Matthew Livesberger blowing himself up outside of Trump Tower, inside of the Cybertruck, was enough to go, okay, this insane thing that this insane guy sent me, after he did the extra insane thing of blowing himself up, now I believe it. Why? Because content and clout. So let's take a look at the email really quickly, and then we'll move back to the conversation that they were having. Now, Matthew Livesberger did something in this email that I called the sandwich technique, okay? The two bread The bread that you use, the burger technique, if you want to call it that, is truth, insane stuff in between, and then more truth, potentially likely truth. Okay? In case I do not make it my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1st Jan and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2008 Black Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems, powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast. But throughout the history, the U.S., only we and China have this capability. Our OPSEN, Operation Center, location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they use the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm system. There are dozens of these balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it, and how we are weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere on the East Coast. I've been followed for a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico. But I won't, because they know I am armed and have a massive VBIED, which is code word for vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. I have been trying to maintain tactically a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Okay, this is like signs of paranoid schizophrenia, in my opinion. Okay, I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in the Nimruz province in Afghanistan in 2009 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on the initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft and CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with US FORA and agent of the DEA, so I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked on General Miller's IO staff, as well as the response to Bala Murghab. AOBS commander at the time, can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war, because it's a mutually assured destruction situation. For vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Lafisberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP and USAP access. Do not message me. I will send out updates via both Signal and email, but trust me, you're gonna want to be involved. 18 Zulu. Signing out. So my initial assessment on the guy, and also Shawn Ryan in general, is that I don't think you're going to ever find some real damning truths about whatever is happening within the American government by the likes of Shawn Ryan or on his show. Ironically enough, Shawn Ryan also has claimed that he might be under threat for revealing this information. Okay, where was it? He tweeted out something along the lines of with the weight of the baggage America is carrying within its borders, I can't help but wonder, when the baggage becomes too full, will America be able to recover, or have we already reached that point? He basically tweeted out something like, I'm under threat. Hey man, this is an activity duty Special Forces TM Sergeant out of 10th. I want to blow the whistle on our activities in a certain place. I'm willing to sit down with you on the 31st in Flagstaff, or do it remotely via phone. Must be done before the 31st, as I'll be leaving. You know what's really funny? Okay. Shawn Ryan probably gets at least 1,000 emails like this a day, which is precisely the reason why when he saw this email, he did not respond to it. I'm rather shocked at the lack of loyalty and military conditioning of American servicemen and women. Where is their sense of loyalty and discipline? Yes, the U.S. has a mental health pandemic. The U.S. military seems to have very serious loyalty and discipline problem. Too many of them have gone rogue. What are you talking about? What? It didn't go to Shawn Ryan, did it? It went to his guest? No, he of course sent one to Shawn Ryan directly as well, for the record. Of course, what's funny to me, at least, is that you have one former government guy, former Navy SEAL CIA contractor, getting upset at another current government guy, Jack Posobiec, also former Navy intelligence. Okay? Jack Posobiec immediately runs into the story headfirst and says, spoke with an Army friend who served with Matthew Leibesberger in Afghanistan. Says the email story about the war crimes in 2019 is totally made up, that they didn't even have strike authority like he's talking about. Now, it's interesting because I think that this is like varying degrees of PSYOP, where you have Jack and wokeness Posobiec, who is a Navy intelligence guy, participating in, the more basic types of PSYOP divide and conquer initiatives. And then you have the Shawn Ryan guy who has to maintain his veneer as an anti-government guy, but then sometimes, almost always, ends up landing on the side of whatever initiatives the government wants you to pay attention to. The PSYOPs aren't in communication, so Flagstaff guy is not legit. He didn't give, make, model his Ford truck like the Tesla guy. What? I'm a psychiatrist, and this is very clearly schizophrenia or psychosis more broadly. Unfortunately, many such cases after the kind of trauma you experience in the Army. Yeah, that's what I think as well. I see nothing wrong with the dude's email. Unlimited payload and anti-grav technology. You see nothing wrong with a guy. Look, submarines do have the capability of launching drones. That is 100% correct. Okay? Just so you understand. Unlimited payload capabilities are, as far as I understand, impossible. Okay? The fact that he also paired up the Chinese weather balloon as a massive point of Chinese military might that they're flexing over the American, the oblivious American population, I think shows how maybe there's a limit to the veracity of the statements. Okay? There is no such thing as unlimited payloads. What are you talking about? Unlimited payload capabilities, if existed, would dramatically change international commerce. You understand that, right? Like, it would change the world. Unlimited payload capability means that you can, first of all, it's theoretically impossible, okay? But also would imply that there is no, like, you can put 700 tons payload, okay, on a drone maybe the size of a minivan. Like, that's not a thing. Don't get excited, but we know very little about our existence or the world around us. Oh my God, it's always alien guys in the chat that go, yeah, it's alien technology. Anti-grav technology and unlimited payload would be life-altering information, okay? Life-altering technological developments that undermine things that you know about gravity, okay? Things that we understand. It would change the world. It would change everything we understand about the world and just like scientific discovery in general. I mean, anyway, let's just keep going. Look, maybe he was exaggerating on the unlimited payload. I still think it's, I still don't agree that it's like likely Chinese drones off the East Coast. One of the statements I made about this last night was, while I love entertaining conspiracy theories like this, I said, call me crazy, but I don't think the Chinese government has unlimited payload capability anti-grav tech drones that launch from subs near New Jersey to monitor Wawas. And maybe the real PSYOP is making you think that this could possibly be why the Green Beret killed himself in the Cybertruck. But having said that, let's get back to connecting the dots as I tactically ascertain the veracity of the information that's being delivered to us.
Downstairs, I jokingly said this to my wife the day that I got that email, because I read the email to her. You all have heard the email.
Why does him blowing himself up increase the legitimacy of anything he said before? He said something crazy and then did something crazy, so he's probably just crazy. That's what I think as well. However, for the gumshoes over here at the Shawn Ryan podcast, the fact that another active duty service member, most likely exhibiting a mental health crisis, themselves in this spectacular fashion, all of a sudden lends more credence to the arguments that he was, lends more credence to the information he was delivering.
Now you realize without context of who this person is, how just crazy it sounds. And I told her, I said, well, I mean, I guess if the dude ends up getting rolled up by the feds or he gets killed, we got a story, huh? Man, famous last words, right?
Yeah.
That's so I looked at, and I want to give context on one of the things. I saw this going around on social media. People were saying that his Signal chat, his safety number changed. I don't know if you saw this on X, but it was all over X. Apparently his safety number on Signal changed. He messaged me on Signal. So I went on there to look myself to see if it changed. And sure enough, it had. On January 1st, after the bombing, after he was dead, his safety number.
Red flag. Red flag. Calls it X. Red flag. My 2025 red flags are, and this is this is like a holdover or carryover from 2014 as well, which is when someone calls Twitter X, when someone is really invested in AI art and routinely uses AI art. Those are like two, for me, those are, did I say 2014? Why do I keep doing that? That's like the third time I've done that. I don't know. 2024.
That's all he sent me. He said initial contact, and I gave a thumbs up, and his safety number changed at the bottom.
Look at that.
That's after he's dead.
Oh, Bitcoin too. Yeah. Cryptocurrency, being really into cryptocurrency.
I don't know enough
flag.
about Signal to know why that would happen. Somebody has to have manipulated that, though, and messed with it. Somebody had to have been in his account after the fact and done something for that to have changed.
What did the FBI say when you contacted him?
Not a lot. I gave him the story on what went down. Was very over the top, telling them, hey, I am being transparent in every way. Feel free to contact me at any time. This is my address, my name. This is why he contacted me. This is my social media page. This is any reason why this could have happened, why this got dumped on me. This is the information. They took it. They were gracious. They were nice to talk to. Mind you, I had to explain what a VBID was, which was disheartening because you're the FBI, but that's another issue altogether. But nothing beyond that. They said, thank you, and we'll be in touch if we have any further questions.
Well, they definitely got in touch with CID.
Yeah, they did.
Because that went all the way to the top of the Army. And, I'm going to dig in a little bit more on this report from 2019. However, according to international humanitarian law, including international customary law, facilities that control...
Why would he tell the FBI that? Because these guys think that they're still operators working within the FBI or working within the intelligence community or are still capable of being contracted help. They operate like they are being contracted help. I want to call each of these conspiracy theorists dodo. No, I mean, they're LARPing. They're LARPing. That's what it is.
Contribute economically or financially to the war effort or of a party to a conflict are considered civilian objectives. The report jointly produced by UNAMA and the UN Human Rights Office concludes that the drug facilities associated with workers may not be lawfully made the target of attack and should be protected. The United Nations maintains that considering these objectives and individuals legitimate targets dangerously erode the fundamental principle of distinction, placing the broader civilian population.
I went back and reread it. When he's talking about basically unlimited payload, he's not talking about weight or any one drone. He's talking about payload as an ordinance and unlimited by the cumulative effect of all the drones working together. First of all, payload doesn't simply just mean ordnance. Payload means payload. Okay? Payload means it can be surveillance technology. It's whatever the drone is carrying. Okay? And it doesn't matter. Ordnance or not, it's impossible for it to be unlimited unless there is some kind of alien-style space technology out there, anti-gravity technology. To be fair, if you wanted to discredit something, this is exactly how you do it, by leaking it through these bozos. I mean, that's one aspect of it. I think another aspect of it is that Shawn Ryan is a comfortable territory to deliver whatever kind of information you want to deliver. If you want people to be like really worried, if you want people to hyper-focus on a certain story, and get really invested in a certain story. I'm a '09 Modern Warfare 2 vet. I think you're wrong. I've done so many tours in Modern Warfare 2 lobbies, sir.
And infrastructure at risk. The report sets out a number of recommendations, including that the appropriate and legal response to illicit drug activity.
Everyone doubted me yet again. I remain the #1 Elon hater. Sorry, Megaphonics Music. Expect a full retraction from Hassan. Wait, I agreed with you, Evan. I kept using you as the #1 Elon chronicler to further to further solidify my argument. We're gonna get to Adrian Dittman in a second. I even did it yesterday. Yeah, Adrian Dittman is not Elon. Why do you think he's talking about you? Oh, because he probably misunderstood when I was using. All right, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Just let's do it.
Is through law enforcement, not military operations that endanger civilians.
Well, and here's the thing. We want to know why the DOD is scrambling on this, why the FBI pushed this to them so quickly, to CID all the way up to the very top. These are very, very serious allegations.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like UN level opening an investigation type stuff into alleged war crimes. This is no joke.
It did happen.
Yeah, the Ripple.
Okay, I disagree with that vehemently. The United Nations opening up an investigation to American war crimes is basically a joke. Hello? Have you not been around for the last year where it's not even the United Nations that is already constantly humiliated by America in general and the Security Council that the American government basically weaponizes its influence over to ensure that nothing happens to our extension in the Middle East, Israel. The American government has also openly talked about like invading the Netherlands, invading The Hague. So no, I don't think that the UN, calling into question war crimes committed by the United States of America is that serious. It's just not. It just straight up is not. It is crazy.
Effect is going to be massive on this.
It did happen. I think we should take a quick break. I want to scrape our email to see if this Green Beret, what's his name again?
Matt Livelsberg.
Matt Livelsberg. Let's see.
Burger. Okay.
Let's see if Matthew Livelsberger sent us an email through our website email desk. We'll be right back.
Vigilance Elite Productions.
I know everybody out there has to be just as frustrated as I am when it comes to the BS and the rhetoric that the mainstream media continuously tries to force feed us.
Yeah.
And I also know how frustrating it can be to try to find some type.
That's right. That's why I love getting my non-mainstream media narratives from former CIA contractor, Navy SEAL Shawn Ryan, who famously will go on the Joe Rogan Experience to say things like, the Taliban is just printing out passports to come into the United States of America through the southern border of Mexico. Now, that's the type of cutting edge anti-government rhetoric, anti-mainstream media rhetoric you can get from Shawn Ryan, which seemingly always is aligned with the American State Department. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know why. It just always seems to lean in that direction. The exposés of the war crimes or the crazy stuff that's happening behind the scenes in the American government is virtually never actually subversive. It's never really antagonistic. It just always happens to be like, oh, there were some war crimes. That's really serious stuff. America takes its war crimes seriously. It's probably might be a whistleblower type situation. I'm going to call Ryan right now, little bro. This is slander. All I'm saying is I've had more real whistleblowers and more real enemies of the American state on this Twitch stream than he has on his podcast. Okay? His interviewees are the likes of Pete Hegseth, who is about to be the Department of Defense Secretary. Okay? He's about to be the Secretary of Defense. It doesn't get more not against the mainstream than that.
Type of a reliable news source. It's getting really hard to find the truth and what's going on in the country and in the world. And so one thing we've done here at Shawn Ryan Show is we are developing our newsletter. And the first contributor to the newsletter that we have is a woman, former CIA targeter. Some of you may know her as Sarah Adams, call sign Superbad. She's made 2 different appearances here on the Shawn Ryan Show. And some of the stuff that she has uncovered and broke on this show is just absolute.
WikiLeaks did this years ago. Still nothing. What is he on about? No, that's what I'm saying. It's like the real disruptors, okay? The real disruptors, the real like whistleblowers, okay? They don't get to go on the Shawn Ryan podcast. They don't get to have a Shawn Ryan podcast. They're in exile or killed or suffer severe penalties like Chelsea Manning did. Okay? That's it. They go to prison. Like there's no, they either go to prison for a very long time, or they get killed, or they are in a non-extradition embassy, like a non-extradition country's embassy, locked away as the American government, including the likes of Hillary Clinton, like openly talk about assassinating these people like Julian Assange, and only are only are allowed to leave once they've been thoroughly punished, once they've learned their lesson, you know?
Mind-blowing. And so I've asked her if she would contribute to the newsletter and give us a weekly intelligence brief. This is gonna
Okay, yeah. This is to freak out your grandpa, okay? That's what this is. This is to freak out your grandparents or your dad, to be like, yeah, there's a real threat anywhere. This is why we must defend the DOD. We must give more money to the American military, sir. I'm also subversive. I'm anti-government, okay? I'm an anti-government kind of guy, but also we have to keep giving the military more money.
is raw and uncut. This is as close to the set as you can possibly get. You can expect anything from all the
What is happening?
Is what we got. He actually did email us. This came in on December 29th, 2024 at 10:17 p.m. Emailed through the support desk on Shawn Ryan Show.
This is for people who think Tom Clancy novels are real life. This is the podcast version of a Tom Clancy novel. If you don't want to read, and if you don't want to buy an audiobook, you watch the Shawn Ryan podcast and you fantasize about it being real. Okay. And it bricks your brain further.
.com. And by the way, all these emails will be posted on my ex account, Shawn Ryan 762, and your ex account,
Same as whore.
I gotta
all right,
pee.
here's the message traffic. Hey man, this is an active duty SFTM sergeant out of 10th. I want to blow the whistle on our activities in a certain place. I'm willing to sit down with you on the 31st in Flagstaff, or do it remotely via phone. Must be done before the 31st, as I'll be leaving. So we'll be sending this to the FBI as well. Love your contact. I'm also gonna hit some people I know over there, but I just, these people don't always talk. So I think it'd be good to keep some continuity here. But so we did receive an email. What was this guy's? You deleted the message.
The burner account on there, I did. He told me to delete it, and I did. It's a common practice. People get spooked, and they want it deleted, so I do it for them.
Yeah, I was going to throw that up there, but there's tens of thousands of messages in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very obvious why he did this, I think. He wanted to bring attention to the incident in 2019 that got covered up. Do you have any insight, any theories on this?
So we had a running theory downstairs. I've seen all the conspiracies. I've seen all the questions about, all right, this guy is 20-year Special Forces. He just got done with Team Sergeant time. He's a very qualified and very capable Green Beret. Everybody I've spoken to who knew the guy prior, yesterday I spoke to several people, to include his old team leader, who's now Lieutenant Colonel. Said he was fine, nothing out of place. His mental state was not something that anybody was concerned about. His ex-girlfriend posted photos of him bragging about how he got a Tesla and all this other stuff. So stick with me here. Very capable guy, but he loads the Tesla up. A Tesla, which Elon Musk brags about being bulletproof, right? So this is one of his selling points. It's bulletproof. We even saw Joe Rogan shoot an arrow at it and wasn't able to puncture this thing. So he loads up a Tesla knowing that it's going to, not explode like he wants it to with fireworks and a bunch of other junk, when he can make a car bomb that's going to level this place. Here's what I think. So the PAO, the Army PAO, is saying that the body inside the cab did not match the DNA of his child. All right. We also know that there was they said he was shot by a Desert Eagle.
Yeah, dude, it's not this tier 1 operator losing his mind and snapping and doing something that many veterans unfortunately also do, is the not likely scenario here. What the likely scenario here is that he has uncovered the truth about a drone program that the United States of America has, that the Chinese government also has, that is going to shock the world. Echelon, I believe, is the worst surveillance system to ever exist. Like, we don't need that system for surveillance, right, Hassan? I thought it violates the amendments of the rights of privacy, right, Hassan? What? Hasanabi, you're wrong. You're wrong. You don't know tactics, brother. That's true. You cry yourself to sleep knowing you are part of a gender propaganda machine. Free Israel. What? A gender propaganda machine? What does that even mean? An agender propaganda?
We know that there was no signature when it rolled up. So nobody shot themselves when it rolled up to it. You would have seen a large signature. Mr. Guns and Gear, he's on X.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, free Israel from the Israeli government. You're right. You're not wrong. Free Israel from its genocidal tendencies. I agree. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Free Israel from the constructs of heteronormative gender roles.
He goes into this a lot in depth. He's a firearms expert and he talks about this, and there's no signature. So this is what happens. You get a Tesla because you know it can drive itself up to the hotel, the Trump Tower. You put a body in it, roll it up. It's already burned up, or it's already shot, excuse me. You don't want to kill anybody because that's not the message you're trying to send. You're not trying to...
Wait, what? I mean, there's so many moments of surveillance in places like Las Vegas where it looks like the guy is definitely driving the car. I don't know if these people need a welfare check. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what the full extent of self-driving is at this point. Like, I mean, Waymo is obviously pretty successful at full-blown self-driving capabilities. I just don't know if FSD is as good. It seems like it's not as good. But even then, there's a difference between fully self-driving and someone controlling the Cybertruck, which I think is the argument he's trying to make. The argument he's trying to make is that someone killed him, put him in the Cybertruck, in the driver's seat of the Cybertruck, and then blew up the Cybertruck, drove the Cybertruck through remote control, and then blew it up, basically. But what also doesn't make sense in this regard, what doesn't really make sense in that story, no, he's saying life is Burger. He's saying Burger is still alive. He faked his own death. Yeah, that's insanely unlikely. That is the most unlikely scenario. You would have to tattoo you would have to straight up tattoo the body of the person that you killed, and then self-drove, and then got to self-drive the car to the Trump Tower. And I believe they also match your dental records. I'm sure that they matched his dental records as well.
Level the tower or kill a bunch of people. So you load it up with fireworks and a bunch of junk to send a message. And we know that his signal number or his signal safety number changed. That can't be done unless you're inside that signal account. And a lot of people conjecture, was the FBI inside his signal account, whatever else. But what if he accidentally changed his safety number, goofed up there? He rolled a body up in a Tesla, specifically because a Tesla can drive itself up to the tower, and did what he did to send a message to expose his stuff. And he's still alive out there somewhere.
Well, the other thing is maybe the FBI wasn't in his phone. Maybe, I mean, this guy's obviously very...
Yeah, to my knowledge, shreds and tatters of his tattoo remains plus teeth, not fakeable amount. I am more inclined to believe that the government killed him. Or more inclined to believe that it was he had no suicidal ideation whatsoever, and it was actually him trying to have a fun weekend in Vegas with his friends or whatever, and then there was a Cybertruck electrical malfunction that caused all of the explosive ordnance in the background that he was gonna like blow up and stuff in the desert to blow up the car. I'm more inclined to believe those two other options before I believe that this guy, Matthew Livesberger, went, killed like a homeless man, tattooed his entire body, swapped out enough of his teeth with his own personal teeth, and then fully self-drove the Cybertruck in a way that like somehow evades Tesla's own internal information, because that will be given to the federal government, and blew up the truck remotely I'm kind of becoming a fan of this unrestricted delusions focused podcast. Like, can we just make anything up into a podcast? What do you think 90% of podcasts are? 90% of podcasts are this guy with like a government background, guy with like some semblance of authority and legitimacy, talking about things that are completely outside of their realm of comprehension and just making up the most insane conspiracy theories. It's like half of the podcasts are like that. You'll have a guy. That's what the Jordan Peterson method was. A guy with like some level of institutional credibility talking about a number of different things that he does not understand at all with unimaginable confidence. Also, the Fear M Pod. I mean, the Fear M Pod is like obviously a entertainment comedy culture focused podcast. We don't, we don't have any sort of authority over any of the things that we talk about. What are you talking about? As a matter of fact, most of the podcast is about how little we know about things.
Very competent. I mean, he's got a TSSCI clearance for the polygraph. He's been associated with USASOC. Obviously, he was on this operation in 2019. By the way, the general in charge of that was General Miller. You'll see that in the email that we post on X later after this interview comes out. Maybe he changed his number on purpose and switched phones because he obviously was tipped off or conducted his own counter surveillance and caught Homeland or FBI tracking him. And so I think there's a very good possibility that that Matthew Livelsberger might be still alive.
It checks, as far as I can tell, it checks all the blocks.
The Desert Eagle, the Desert Eagle, I mean, yeah, a little over the top firearm. But if you think about it, if he was going to himself or whoever was in that car was going to himself, look, if I was going to commit the firearm, I would go with the biggest possible caliber of bullet that I could to make sure that it actually worked, because I wouldn't want to be sitting there choking all over myself with a 9mm or something.
True.
So that is, as far as I know, a 50 caliber Desert Eagle is the biggest handgun caliber that you can get. And so that could play into this as well. But
there's a lot going on.
Was there something in that email again that said that this would prevent World War III with the UAP?
Well, it didn't say it would prevent World War III, but he was asking that. He said you need to elevate this to the media.
It's weird how these people love America and agree with a lot of the government, but will also think that they will kill people for no any reason. Yeah, bad guys.
So we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured.
Conspiring about why or how a veteran himself, as if this isn't a dog bites man scenario. Yeah, that's the crazy part about this, is that like they're pointing to a very common, like, this is unfortunate, it's tragic, but it's so common that there's a number for it, right? The initial number was 22 veterans a day. And now I think the number is lowered down to like 14 or something. But it is so commonplace that there are organizations and initiatives launched directly talking about how many veterans commit suicide a day, and they're like they're covering it as though this is like a very unique phenomenon. Now, obviously, the way it happened is definitely more spectacular than the average way it normally happens. He wasn't mentally disturbed. He was Oracle Patriot fighting the deep state. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue.
Destruction situation.
I wonder what he's trying to do with these, what he's trying to tell us with these drones.
I hesitate to even get into this realm because I have no expertise in drones or just call it alien technology, UFO technology, whatever's going on here. But here's
how can you have expertise in alien technology, dude? Oh man, let's get into it. But I'm sorry, Shawn. I don't want to disrespect the credibility of your podcast, but I have no experience in alien technology. This is outside of my forte. Oh man, drone tech and alien tech is totally outside of my purview.
Here's one thing that I talked about with the guys downstairs earlier. Several weeks ago, I don't know if you saw that video. It was a New Jersey sheriff or chief of police. I can't remember which, but he flew their own drone up, their own department.
Yeah. New Jersey sheriffs. Those are the guys who have a lot of experience with alien technology.
Drone up to try to figure out what was going on. So we had all these drone issues that were being cited off of New Jersey and everything. And what he commented on video was how fast these things were. He said, we have a pretty robust drone. And they flew it up there to try to catch these drones that were there. And they just, bam, they were gone. He said there was no catching them. Never seen anything like it. They don't even know They have no idea what that could have been. And so you have this capability that is, I guess, in line with what we hear about anti-gravity being. And I don't know, it makes you wonder.
Well, you have the stuff with Ryan Graves and is it Dave Favor?
Commander David Fravor.
The commander, David Favor, who, was it the Nimitz?
He was in the Nimitz strike group in 2004.
Yeah, the Nimitz strike group in 2004 that reported those UAPs coming out of the water that had no propulsion system.
I remember that.
But, and it's interesting that nobody seems to know what the drones are, and it just, kind of disappeared out of the media. And, and the other thing is we do have the capability to take these drones out. Well, everybody was trying to figure out what the drone's on. I brought on a very prominent businessman, Joe Lonsdale, who is the co-founder of a company called Epirus. Epirus is they manufacture these directed EMP weapons that can take out 100 drones at a time with a basically sends out a simultaneous different directed EMP weapons. Brought him on. He's also founder of Palantir, big AI platform that the military's been using.
Sure.
That kind of revolution.
Isn't that odd that these supposedly subversive anti-government podcasts that go against the grain of mainstream media consistently have government contractors on to talk about the dangerous fears that you must hire those individual guys to combat against? That's interesting. How subversive. How disruptive. How scary. How scary. What's scary is the existence of Palantir. Okay? What's scary is the reality that there are multi-billionaires out there who are completely broken in the brain that serve the federal government with insane surveillance technology, and you're not afraid of that. You're afraid of alien drone technology, and the only way to defend yourself against that alien drone technology is with Palantir or with, these EMP weapons providers that are going to become government contractors. Like, think. This is what I will never understand about all of these cynics, all of these skeptics, all of these conspiracy theorist people. They're not afraid of Peter Thiel. They're not afraid of Elon Musk. They're afraid of Bill Gates, which you should be. He's also a billionaire, okay? But they're afraid of Bill Gates for what they suspect Bill Gates is doing when Elon Musk is doing it openly. They'll be like, Bill Gates is trying to give microchips to do mind control to me, okay, by way of the vaccine. That's why I hate that guy. But I love Elon. He's one of the good ones. Meanwhile, he's got a company called Neuralink that is literally trying to do that. And you like the guy that's trying to do that. You think the guy that's trying to do that is a hero, saving America. But then you suspect Bill Gates of doing that to you. And you hate him for it. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to me at all. Yo, did skincare last night like a clay mask and everything. My face is smooth like the brain of a lead-poisoned boomer. Anti-gravity tech is real. Only explanation for the flight paths of all those documented UAPs. Hasan isn't familiar with Bob Lazar. I guess not. Oh my God. Anti-grav tech is real. Yeah, it is. You're right. It is real. Aliens have actually made contact. The American government has figured it out. They actually have anti-grav technology. They're just not revealing it to us yet.
Revolutionized warfare.
Big fan.
So we could have taken those drones out in any moment in time. In fact, I know those are deployed. So that could be. So he had two objectives. One, he definitely wanted to bring light to 2019. That obviously affected his code of morals, and the drones.
Yeah.
And he's obviously very worried about World War III, which I think everybody right now. But why Trump Hotel? Why Las Vegas?
Yeah. I conjecture and speculation at this point. I couldn't.
Someone used a drone blocker on the New Year's Eve show near where I live. All the drones filmed in the sky once. No, of course there are anti-drone technology. That is not the far-fetched idea. No. And there is also mass surveillance capabilities that Palantir has. And they're contracted by the federal government to do such things, to find new ways of doing mass surveillance. The reason why I brought those two things up is because Shawn Ryan is having those guys on. Those guys are government contractors. You can't be a subversive anti-government guy and then simultaneously offer non-hostile, positive interviews to the people that are doing the actual evil. If your position as an anti-government guy, a conspiracy guy, is that like the government is doing a whole bunch of stuff that I consider to be evil, and then you have the mass surveillance guy on, and you bring it up as though it's like a good thing, but then you're not an anti-government guy. You know what I mean? What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I don't even tell you. You know, I've heard both sides. I've seen them finding posts from his wife, who's very allegedly. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying what has been put out on social media is very anti-Trump. She has had a number of anti-Trump posts, and then him, who his family say is a stalwart patriot, Trump supporter, all these other things. Which I guess if I had to guess,
wait, there's no indication that this guy was anti-Trump at all. What are you talking about?
Just in the realm of conjecture again, I would say Trump Tower. It draws more media, more fanfare. Was this an assassination attempt? That kind of stuff. So you get more press, more media pulling into it because it is such a significant namesake, if you will. But at the same time, it was a fireworks display and very little more. And if I'm running with the theory that I proposed a little while ago, he didn't want to hurt anybody. He wanted to send a message.
No, I mean, it's very obvious. Look, the guy's got great tradecraft. You know, I mean, he changed his signal number, if that was him, or his whatever the contact number on Signal. 20 plus year in special operations at the highest level. Picked a car that's bulletproof to do this. I think, yeah, there definitely wasn't mass casualties. He wasn't trying to hit mass casualties, because otherwise he would have done it at another location.
Dude, I love the idea where you have to maintain the position that like our beautiful special operations veterans are all Jason Bourne, and therefore if they really wanted to blow something up, I tell you what, they would do a much better job than the ISIS veteran guy. I promise you. Okay. They would. Yeah, I think he just wanted to kill himself. Okay. I think if there's a conspiracy there, and there could be one. Okay. I'm not saying that there isn't. If there's a conspiracy there, I doubt that it is in line with whatever these guys are firmly committed to. Okay. If there's a conspiracy there, it is more likely that the conspiracy revolves around, I don't know, whatever he did in as a part of his like special forces operations, and then he, you know, went a little too far and got burned. The most likely scenario here, I think, is that, you know, he's a vet who was it? We were talking about this the other day. Like, a lot of the special forces guys refuse to get mental health evaluations or refuse to get therapy because they have career ambitions, and getting any sort of mental health evaluation beyond whatever the military is giving you and getting therapy for that kind of thing actually limits your upwards mobility. So most likely, you know, he left a lot of things untreated, and you know, probably bricked his brain a little bit, and then did something that unfortunately a lot of veterans do, right? I think that's like the more likely scenario. And it seems like he believed a whole bunch of crazy stuff that was also happening, that the government was like tracing him and tracking him and stuff like that. I believe your medical expenses, whatever they are, exceed the average person's needs, you have less motion. That, or vets are sick of being bounced around from therapist to therapist and having to relive the same trauma over and over again with no progress. I think you're talking about veterans rather than like active duty service members who are still seeking out like a higher status within the military. This guy was still in the military. He was still working. As an Air Force vet, can confirm the perception that getting help will ruin your career opportunities. Yeah, if you're still in service, and you have a lot of baggage, I guess you have a lot of mental health complications that that stunts your growth within the ranks. Is this conspiracy only a thing because of how obsessed with how awesome and amazing the operators are or whatever? That's what it seems like to me. A little bit, yeah.
As well, or the bomb would have been bigger to take the entire building.
I agree.
Down. And so this definitely wasn't, in my opinion, this definitely wasn't incompetence.
Another thing to support this. So you got the email. He desperately wanted to talk to you before December 31st. He knew beyond a shadow of a doubt January 1st was go day. Nobody was pressuring him. At the beginning of this email, we see, first of all, I'm not under duress or hostile influence or control. Okay. So he says that he reached out to you. He was very emphatic that it had to be before December 31st because he was doing this thing on January 1st. For some reason, that was a landmark day to him. Maybe it was just because big day for everybody, January 1st. But he was very emphatic that was the time. And then the thing he was trying to do was, overall, more than anything, was get a message across on the biggest platforms possible. He was trying to talk to Pete Hegseth. Why would you want to talk to the Secretary of Defense? He's trying to blow the whistle on these war crimes. He's trying to say this thing happened, man. Like, I can't live with this anymore. He desperately needed to talk to you, the biggest platform out there. He needed to talk to Fox News. I need to get this message out. That was his overall goal. In everything else, everything I've seen, I have not seen the intended goal was to kill himself or to create a mass casualty event. It is to get this message out. And how can I do that? What is the biggest bang for my buck?
It's an honor being on the FBI watch list with you all. Dog, they literally mentioned that they talked to the FBI directly multiple times throughout the interview. You're not on an FBI watch list. You're on the call list. Okay? You are the FBI. You are the feds. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you're on a list of the FBI. It's just a list of known collaborators that we can call up anytime we want some information.
How can I get that done? That's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. It's a damn good point. Wow. Do you think there was any correlation between him and the New Orleans attack?
No.
I don't either.
I looked at all of that. I looked at the posts. I looked at the, people are scrambling for news. Everybody wants to post something. They want to be the guy on social media that posts the groundbreaking thing. And I saw these connections to Fort Bragg and they deployed together at this time. And great. So did 500,000 of the rest of us. I was at Fort Bragg. Oh man, tie me to Delta Force. I must.
Uh-oh. I was there. Who amongst us hasn't been to Fort Bragg? I mean, he's not wrong. But also at the same time, you're not exactly a clear picture of mental sanity either. So who amongst us
must have been part of Delta Force and some side. No, I had nothing to do with them. It's this nonsense. It's a big organization. The Army is very large. You're picking things out and you're trying to make this a thing. That New Orleans guy was a staff sergeant who got out of the active duty Army in 2015, and he was in the reserves until 2020. People are saying in the last year he was radicalized. I talked to multiple of his peers, to include, I'm going to be very, very careful with this, former leadership. I'm not going to give what echelon they were at. Former leadership of his. There was no indication at all back then that he was radicalized. He didn't say radical. I've seen the posts. I saw several people who were saying, well, we have confirmed posts that he was saying radical Islamic things. I don't believe it because nobody he worked with confirmed that. They said, no, we had no indication that he was like this. And if you talk to people now, they said in the last year, he was radicalized. He started taking on these more radical teachings of Islam and everything else. And he had this, he fell into financial hardship and all these other things. So you're telling me this guy who was a former 42 Alpha S1 guy, human resources, pushes your paper, and then an IT guy, 25 Bravo, is somehow connected to a Green Beret team sergeant?
Dude, I love the tactical speak in here though. Hey, 25 Bravo. He's a 42 Alpha, then a 25 Bravo. Oh, it's so sick. Oh, Jesus. This guy's an 18 Zulu. He has no connection. He's special forces. He's spec ops.
Sergeant out of 10th? No.
Well, also, they found an ISIS flag in New Orleans,
which
they didn't find any of that here.
I think that might have been just some silliness on his part, trying to take on some kind of Islamic banner of jihad.
Low key, this part is not that off base, I think. Look, the way I see like there's a term for it, okay? They say ISIS affiliated versus like directly ISIS inspired, I think. Well, I don't know what the exact terminology is, but like the thing that the media is reporting now, from what the FBI has said thus far, is that he might have been ISIS inspired rather than ISIS affiliated. And what ISIS inspired means is that he didn't actually have a direct contact with ISIS or any connection with ISIS, and just kind of decided to take on the moniker. And that could have happened. That has happened in the past. There are people who either get radicalized online in the same vein as a lot of mass shooters are radicalized online through like Telegram channels, like Terrorgram, like the girl that did the mass shooting a couple weeks ago. Like that would be a direct connection versus someone who has no immediate affiliation or any connection whatsoever and just decides to adopt the moniker. And that is like basically Temu ISIS versus Pinterest ISIS. I mean, kind of. Someone gets ISIS radicalized online. How the F does the FBI, CIA not have eyes on them in your surveillance state? I mean, I guess like it's very hard to actively track and monitor every single person, but that's probably the most likely thing that happened. I doubt he had any contacts with ISIS recruiting cell or something. ISIS being the most notable group, he could have said any Islamic fundamentalist group. ISIS is just most well known to average Americans. Yeah, but we don't know. I still don't know. Maybe there's more information that's come out that I haven't seen yet, but I don't know if there was like a direct point of contact. But it does happen. So I see it in the exact same vein as the way these white nationalist groups operate as well. If you're like a young, usually a young man, a young boy, and you are radicalized online, you go to these like Discord groups or Telegram groups, or any number of different groups like that, where they try to urge you to carry out an atrocity, a mass shooting or whatever. And it happens. It happens with regular frequency, as a matter of fact. And I think that the ISIS affiliation is very similar. And in both circumstances, whether it's a white nationalist operation or an ISIS operation, there's also a lot of federal agent involvement as well. You know, it's the which way Western man equation.
I would conjecture, all conjecture, say that is likely he has no affiliation.
A young 42-year-old boy? No, I was talking about a young man, like a mass shooter. Oftentimes, I'm looking at like the profile of like a white supremacist, white nationalist mass shooter. They are usually young men, young white men in general, but sometimes they're like also Hispanic too. If you're like the overarching profile of white nationalist, white supremacist terrorists that do like mass shootings or try to do an act of terror to create a race war or whatever, that's usually like a young man that got radicalized directly through a white nationalist, far right Telegram channel or some kind of correspondence. And then there are instances where yes, if you're older, also have issues in your life, and you find yourself in the throes of radicalization, you can be like you can find yourself communicating with like I guess an ISIS affiliate or something that will try to get you to carry out an attack in a similar fashion.
He says, but
I wonder. I don't really believe in coincidences, and both of these explosions happened in the same day, or both of these attacks, whatever you want to call them, happened on the same day. The attack and the explosion, which obviously wasn't meant to be an attack.
That's fair. And I don't believe in coincidences either normally, but I look at a landmark day like January 1st, and I think, what better day? Any day. I'm going to do a thing January 1st.
Yeah.
And I think.
Chat, stop viewing Luigi as a hero. I'm reading some comments. Just read some Lenin, my guys. Oh my God. Mr. I read Lenin, and I actually think adventurism will not cause the revolution. Yeah, everybody understands that. Okay? Like, yeah.
possibly old
I
boy
mean, he's not wrong. You should read Lennon, but
in New Orleans had help. I don't think that he could have done all the spotting and surveying and assessing himself. He would have likely had to at least have a spotter to say, yeah, you're good to go. Maybe, but I think that's plausible. But other than that, I have a hard time making that connection.
You know, this email, I wonder who else he reached out to. This came in from Dabber GMIB or MLB at protonmail.com.
Wait,
So
why
he's
are they
even
going
using
back
an
to the
encrypted
same email?
service, but which I think everybody in intelligence and special operations knows what Proton Mail is.
Yeah. I would imagine if Joe Rogan, Fox News, name some other big names out there, scrub their emails right now, they could probably find a message from this guy.
Yeah.
He came to me because I'm like D-list media. I'm the guy who has kind of a platform on social media, but I'm not big time, but I can kind of get things to the big time every once in a while if it's a big enough story. And that's what he was hoping for. He was just throwing mud at the wall, trying to get somebody to get his message out.
Well, it's going to be big time now.
Yeah.
But is there anything else we need to cover that you can think of? Jeremy?
Did you want to go into the other item we talked about in the ride over here this morning?
Oh, can I say it?
Yes.
Yeah, the man pads. Well,
Unfamiliar.
all right. So I'm saying this with, you can decide to use this or cut it out. This is hard to work with because keep in mind, let me give some background on this. I'm an intelligence analyst and I've spent many years validating sources, taking information in, putting it back out, telling my humenters, hey, this source, this is valid. Let's, give him a rating of this, do this, recommendations. So we can identify good sources in the field that give us information, and we can say, yes, this is an A source versus an F6. This is just garbage. Somebody got paid for something. I still work in intelligence. I'm an intelligence officer. I work for a nonprofit. We Remnant Ministries out of Texas. In fact, the website is in my bio on X. I work for Dr. Pete Chambers, Green Beret, and we're involved in counter human trafficking, along with just providing ministry to all kinds of stuff, border operations. Most recently, we've been involved in West North Carolina a great deal, and we had
I have to pee.
some confirmed
so bad.
reporting
All right,
through
I'll be
two
back.
solid sources. And this is where I have to be very iffy. And I told him the card, and he can tell you offline. I cannot say this on the air, but we had two solid sources, one south of the border and then one from an element within our own government that confirmed independently of each other that some Iranian-made man pads, so surface-to-air missiles, had come across the border. We had the location and everything else. Well, Doc, that's what he goes by, Doc Chambers, he put this out on a podcast, and I was very emphatic, like, this is not stuff that I like to put on social media. I'm an intel guy by trade. This stuff is not for social media consumption. We got this to Secret Service. We did the whole gamut and got everything pushed to them, and that's why Trump was pushing a lot of this stuff out when he was, because we had told the Secret Service and they had the reporting and everything else. But we have not, to my knowledge, have not recovered those man pads. Now, I'm not privy to that, but what I do know we have done is we have apprehended the couriers on a second run of theirs, and we have local law enforcement got together with federal law enforcement and rolled up the safe house in, I will not say that on this show, but they rolled up the safe house where it was, and we have since identified what that issue was on the border.
Now, let me just. Where did they come through?
They came through an actual point of entry, in a legal point of entry along the border. I'd have to pull up the original reporting, but we had.
Yes, dude. This is and Shawn Ryan, of course, kept this in. This is it. This is my favorite type. It's when you're like, yeah, the current incompetent American government under the Brandon leadership is allowing ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Russian, it depends. Some of these guys are not anti-Russian, but like Chinese operatives to come through the southern border, which is why we need to have a more muscular military, and also we need to have a more muscular border control process. Iranians are coming in from the southern border to do Iranian-style terrorism.
Had the actual.
So we now have Iranian missiles. Who knows how many
and
inside the United States?
That is not something you're going to see in a lot of places. Like I said, I didn't even want to talk about it. It was one of those things where I was just amplifying what he was putting out already, because I was like, man, I don't know about putting this out. But it was something we found was pertinent, because at the time, Trump was still campaigning. He was flying around, and there was the reports were their intent was to take down Trump's airplane. So at the time, Secret Service switched things up a bit, and allegedly, from what I've told, they started flying him around on charters for a while until they could identify and kind of mitigate that threat. But that was the reporting stream that was coming out at the time. Feds handled it. Off my plate.
You know, I mean, I'm with you on the not releasing certain things on social media. I understand that, but on the other hand, it seems to be the only way to demand any type of accountability or get this and force FBI, Homeland, whoever else is involved to dive into this shit and actually take part. And that's what we've been doing here on the show with Scott Mann, retired Lieutenant Colonel Green Beret, Sarah Adams, former agency targeter. We brought on Legend, who's an Army intelligence guy who goes by Legend because he doesn't want to reveal his name because he still is very involved. And we even went all the way to Vienna to interview Commander Massoud, the leader of the National Resistance Front in Afghanistan. And, you know, we've been talking about this stuff for a year. We got it to Congress. Congressman out of Knoxville, Tennessee, Tim Burchett, sent the bill up. It's literally about we need to stop funding the Taliban, $40 to $87 million a week. The Taliban has set up multiple NGOs within Afghanistan, and basically what we're doing is sending loads of cash to NGOs that the Taliban had set up. We're funding our own demise, and nobody's paying attention.
That's right. The Taliban are coming into the United States of America to destroy America. We're funding the Taliban. We're funding our own demise. Also, when we did quite literally fund our own demise in the form of funding the Taliban, that was really good when we did that. Why? Because Cold War, because USSR. These were brave anti-Soviet warriors paving the path to peace. Okay.
Nobody's paying attention. We tried to get it in the media. We got a little bit of hits. Most of them were from outside the U.S. We had a reporter out of India kind of cover it, but we've been warning about what's happening for damn near a year now. Sarah first came on.
Any sane society would see these guys as more of a threat than the Taliban.
October of 2023 was her first interview, and nobody took it seriously. Now we have the New Orleans attack. We have Iranian missiles. We have these invisible bombs. Do you know about the invisible bombs? So now these terrorist organizations have developed invisible bombs that will get through metal detectors, any kind of screening device that's out there, and they brag about this. And now we just did a Twitter Spaces with Sarah Adams, and they are now bragging that what we know about the invisible bomb, it's now even more advanced than it was before. So that means they can get this into stadiums, they can get this into airports, they can get this pretty much anywhere they want because you cannot detect it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Great.
So
that's crazy because they have all of this, but they can't use it on Israel. like they have all this. Israel's within striking distance, but they simply can't use it on Israel. But they're going to use it on America, which is so far away. Anyway.
You know, for the people out there, you know, look, there's no stopping.
Same for ISIS. Okay. Come on, chatter. ISIS doesn't attack Israel. Come on. Oh, come on. Why would it would be like striking your own chest with your right hand, okay? That would be weird.
And what's here? You cannot stop this.
Nope, you can't roll it back.
Not
with
what we have already in here. We have sleeper cells. Yep. We're already getting reports that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, we're already getting some reports that there may be more involved in the Louisiana, New Orleans attack that they're not releasing. We also, I'll tell you this, there's a group of people flying around and basically briefing up different departments, governors about what's coming, how to deal with it in their communities. There are deputies in New Orleans who put in requests for training on how to take care of a threat like this, and those requests were denied. They were denied. And so what I basically want to say is it's going to be a bloody 2025. I think that's very obvious. And so for those of you that are looking for something to do and if finally come to the realization that our government is failing us, here's what you need to do. You need to get with your local communities. You need to, especially schools. Schools are very vulnerable no matter how many active shooters we have in the schools. The infrastructure that's been put in, which is minimal to none.
Isn't it crazy that almost all of the solutions to the problems that this man is talking about is directly in line with what the Republicans are advocating for? Just something interesting that I've seen from the supposed so-called independent media, the anti-mainstream narrative guys. Yeah, that's right. We got to make our schools hard targets, not soft targets. All right. It's like, okay, then I guess you're not anti-mainstream media, nor are you anti-Republican, anti-government at all.
A lot of schools still have none. You better start holding your schools accountable, and you better start raising hell and having them upgrade security no matter what the cost, because no matter what the cost is, it's not going to amount to the loss of life that we will potentially see throughout the United States. And start calling your congressmen, get these guys to do something.
Yeah.
Start calling your senators, get these guys to do something. They have been warned for over a year that this is coming, and nobody wants to take it seriously. Nobody wants to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Contact
our underfunded schooling system is in dire need of funding for not for books or smaller classrooms or more teachers, but instead for hardening its security, hardening the school infrastructure to make sure that we can take care of the threats from within. God forbid you ban guns, though. Do not even suggest some pussy like that, okay?
to the House Foreign Affairs Committee. They did like a Zoom call. A Zoom call.
Yeah, that's
Just for a little media hit. Our government is failing us. And so it's in our hands now. It's your kids. It's your wife. It's your husband. It's your parents that are going to pay the price for what we have installed in this country. And it's now up to us because they aren't going to do anything. So on that note, like I said,
I'm Shawn Ryan. This is the Shawn Ryan Show, #1 podcast. All right. So before we get back to the NOLA guy, there is a couple things that I want to talk about here. Specifically about the background of the Las Vegas Cybertruck guy. Las Vegas Cybertruck blast suspect Matthew Leifesberger took part in a military TV reality competition on the History Channel alongside Tim Kennedy.
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces, better known as the Green Berets.
Matthew Leifesberger and his partner Tim Kelly, both Green Berets.
We have to watch this episode. Can we find this episode? Can we please find this episode?